Welcome to Pep Talks with Eric, where we shift gears from negative feedback loops and drive towards the life we truly want. I'm your host, Eric Ayers. I believe in the power of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Together, we'll explore how connections fuel our growth and create amazing experiences. In this podcast, we'll tune out the noise of the world and tune into what we really want and what really matters. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Pep Talks with Coach Eric. I'm your host, Coach Eric, and today we are diving into a subject that deeply resonates with me, human connection. It is the foundation of what my business, what my life is built upon, Ubuntu, that I am because we are. And specifically, we're going to be talking about how handwritten letters can reignite human connection in a digital world. All right. Our guest today, I'm super honored and privileged to have her on. She's an award-winning author and dynamic keynote speaker who envisions unity in diversity, where the disparities intertwine as bonds rather than divisions. Beautiful. And by revitalizing the age-old art of handwritten letters, she revives human connections in an increasingly digital age. Infused with wit and humor, Amy draws from her experience crafting 580 handwritten letters to all her Facebook friends, illuminating the path to profound connections in the unlikeliest corners. And with acclaimed works like Dear Dana and You Cannot Mess This Up, Amy inspires others to embrace vulnerability, proving that genuine kinship thrives even in unexpected spheres. Amy, it is an honor to have you on the show. So thank you and welcome to Pep Talks.
Thank you, Coach Eric. I'm honored to be here and excited about our conversation.
We hit it off when we met, and I remember leaving our conversation with like this understanding that human connection is important. And I love the fact that you gave me a glimpse into another medium, another methodology of how human connection comes into play. So if you don't mind, share a little bit about yourself. What got you to handwritten letters and using handwritten letters as a tool?
Right. And, I fell into this accidentally. I like to tell people I was just minding my own business. So I'm a freelance writer, an author. So I was just doing my own thing. This was several years ago. And I get on Facebook like we all do. And this girl's name pops into my head that I'd worked at a summer camp with for literally like 6 weeks. That's all the time we spent together in the 1980s. And we were both loud and hilarious. And I guess that's what we connected over. But we spent 30 years, Eric, doing life completely apart. So her name pops in my head. So relatable. I type it in. Voila, there she is from the past. And so I friend her because it doesn't mean anything. She accepts my friendship request. I assume she maybe kind of remembers who I am. And then I look through her life. The obligatory little light stalking. And I realized right away she has 5 kids. She's overachieved. 4 daughters, 1 son. He's the youngest. His name is Parker. And then right away and looking at her post, I see that Parker's battling cancer. And he's at St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee, which means that it's serious because that's where the serious kids cases have the opportunity to go. And so, right away, I get connected to the story almost in a way that didn't make any sense. But as a mom, as a human being, as a person, I got connected to the story and I started watching. So Parker is fighting hard. It's not an easy fight, but he goes into remission. They go back home to wherever it is they live. This is Facebook. I don't really know. And then at the end of that same year, she starts to post differently again. And she's like, you could tell something's wrong. And finally she says, the cancer's back. We're going back to Memphis. Just devastating. So I sit down the next day at my desk, so innocently. Of course, I'm thinking about him, and I'm somebody who likes to pray. So I've been praying for him. But I sit down at my desk on a regular Monday morning. It's like a bolt of lightning. I wasn't asking anybody or anything what I should be doing in the story. It's like it hit me right in the head. It's like, you know what you're going to do? You're going to start sending them little handwritten cards and notes to the Ronald McDonald House in Memphis, to Dana and Parker. And I hadn't written anyone a letter in 25 years. So it's not like I was the letter writing lady, running around writing my meaningful letters. Right. And I had never met this kid. And I hadn't seen this woman in 30 years. And I hadn't liked or commented on any of her posts because that seemed completely insincere given her situation.
Mhm.
She doesn't even know who I am. I don't even really remember her. And so I start writing them for 10 weeks, probably. I write Dana and Parker notes, cards, started out little short cards, then it was longer and longer and longer. I'm a writer. I like to talk about my feelings. So I just keep
Yeah.
talking. And so after 10 weeks, again, her posts began to shift. You can tell something's wrong. And so the New Year's passes, and then, I mean, and there's no words for this. Parker passes away at age 15. She posts
Mhm.
about it. It's just tragic. And I know it has nothing to do with me. I sent a condolence card to the Ronald McDonald House. I'm like, so what do I do now? And it's like mini lightning bolt. I was like, you know what? And it's like I'm different stages of me being ridiculous or crazy or insane. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to keep writing her the letters. And I felt so strongly about it. I knew it was ridiculous, but I could not stop myself. So only this time, where am I going to send these letters? I can't message this woman and say, hey, what's your address?
Right.
You're going through the worst thing that someone could go through. Maybe you could drop your address. So I go and stalk her some more, and I see her husband is an attorney and has a law office. So I was like, oh, I'll just send the letters there. And looking back on that, Eric, that looks like insanity. Like, here these people have gone through this unthinkable thing, and I'm going to send this woman letters to her husband's law
Right.
office address.
Right.
So I do this for 4 months. Every time I sit down and write a letter, I'm thinking, you're crazy. This is nuts. But I just keep doing it. And 4 or 5 months into doing this, I go out to my mailbox on my birthday, get the mail, and there's a 10-page letter from this woman,
Mhm.
handwritten. And she shares about her grief. She's looking at her life from the outside in. So this kicks off 2 years of us exclusively writing each other. We don't text, we don't email, we don't Facebook message, none of it. She shares about her grief. I look at my life from the outside in. We end up trusting each other. And the best part was, first of all, there's this free space because nobody's expecting a response because no one knows when anybody's reading anything. So you
Right.
can share almost anything. We trusted each other, and that was ridiculous because we didn't know each other. But one of the best parts was I had no idea what she believed politically, like what her religion was, like her socioeconomic level, like what she thought about gender issues. None of that. All we knew is we cared about each other because we shared on this intimate level that made no sense. So
Yeah.
I sat back after about 8 months of this and I was like, this one random girl, like, what about these 600 other people? What's their story? And what untapped goodness is in this list? So then I went all world nuts, bananagrams. I shoved everyone's name into a box. I bought some stationery and I didn't think I was ever going to finish. And I didn't really take it seriously, except for I kind of journaled it and made some rules, but that's how my brain works. But I spent 18 months and I wrote 600 handwritten letters and it
Mhm.
blew up my life. I learned so many things about this. And you said tool. It's a tool we have in our toolkits as human beings.
Mhm.
I learned so much about the power of that I wrote a book about it, that I have a speech about it, and I can't shut up about it.
Which I'm glad you can't shut up about it because you're here sharing this important idea, this important concept. So as with all conversations, this can go many different ways. And we could dive into many aspects of this. There's a profoundness within that 4 month lull of that you were writing. You had no idea if she was getting it, but you were still writing. Um, and the knowing of just needing to do that. I know you say it might be insane, it might be crazy, but there was a knowing in you doing this. I think that is so powerful. And I think all of us have this knowing to do something. And when we give ourselves permission to listen to ourselves and go forward, magic happens. These things happen. And when you tap that into, you mentioned prayer. So you're praying, you're putting your feelings out on paper from pen, from heart to pen to paper. And that energy is going out to make a difference. Like that whole thing is absolutely beautiful. And oh man, so much to tackle here. What what was it that and you may not even know this, but what was it that kept driving you to write, especially in that 4 month lull, to keep to in the pursuit of being a pen pal, right? Because that's what it ultimately became. That's what you described to me. So in this pursuit, what was the driving factor?
Yeah, there was something inside of me that could not stop. And it may have been that as a fellow human being and mother, that the thought of losing a child was just so, unthinkable to me
Yeah.
that I had to do something, that I had to do something. Like when he was fighting cancer, I had to do something. And when he lost the battle and she was left there without him, I had to do something. But the only way I can describe it is I was so inclined from the moment the first lightning bolt hit me, like I couldn't have stopped even if I wanted to. It was so much momentum that
Yes.
it was like one of those, I think, a once in a lifetime moment in my life where I was like, I just have to do this. I like what you said, because I think we all have that gut instinct stuff inside of us. And it's a matter of if we let it go. And I think I let it go, and it clicked with some part of my personality, and it just went. And
Yeah.
and I wonder too, Eric, after 4 months, how long would I have gone? Because I think one of the best parts of this story that gets underplayed is Dana writing me back. What if
Yeah.
Dana doesn't write me back?
Right.
Are we even having this conversation? Am I even the letter writing girl who can't shut up? Well, it's hard to say, but I think that one of the best parts of my story is you look at the start and where we're at right now, and it was just down to one random girl following through on her gut instinct. And how
Yeah.
inspiring is that for everyone else who has a gut instinct?
Right. Oh, beautifully put. And if we look at current situation, current life in this digital world, right? There's not a whole lot of handwriting letters going on, but when we receive those, there's a different feeling. But there's also ways. There's an idea that's proposed by Mick Ebling with Not Impossible Labs, who says let's utilize technology for the sake of humanity instead of for the sake of technology. So how do we take technology and incorporate this humanitarian aspect? So, for example, the first thing I thought of when you were explaining that was we are so accustomed now in this digital world to look at the likes, the comments, the views, all of these things. But to your point, if we have music inside of us that needs to be played for the world, it doesn't matter how they respond. If they respond, the important thing is we do it. We ship the work, we send the letter, we post whatever, not for the views, not to come back, but because this is what we're meant to do. And this is how we create human connections. And because of that, this first, I'm going to call it a trial. It's not a trial, but this first period of you learning this craft, this art, because ultimately I think that's what it is. After that, you're like, okay, this was one, technically two, because you wrote Parker as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so two, and then you're like, I'm going to trade this in and I'm going to go for all 600. And it's like, all I needed was this baby step,
Right.
which was huge. And I'm not downplaying that by calling it a baby step, but like from where you're standing from there to 600, that's a different ball game, because now we're like, this is human connection.
Right. Right. No, and I think it was a baby step, because it taught me, like, I got a glimpse into the power. And I think I understood that there was something so, like, it changed me in a way that I couldn't even explain. And so what would happen if I connected with everybody? And I just did not realize it's the deliberateness and the non-intrusiveness of sending one. And I think letter is the right word, but we could also frame it as a note, because this can be done in 2 sentences. It does not,
Yes.
because I think one of the unfortunate parts of my story is one, I was a writer coming into it, and two, I wrote 2-page letters. Okay, number one, you don't have to be a writer. All you have to be is a human with a heart to participate in this art, or this, you don't have to have a skill set coming. We all, anyone listening, turn this on with this is already in their toolkit, 100%. And two, it meets your personality right where you are. If you're the kind of person who has to, like, your brevity is not your gift, and this is me, like, you need 6 pages to get it done, that works. But if you have a sticky note, 1 sentence,
Yeah.
it's the same. Well, I mean, mailing it is better, but it's the same kind of impact.
Right.
So this meets us right where we are. This can work for anyone.
I love that. So there's zero learning curves for this.
Right.
So it's a tool that here you already have it, just plug and play and go on. We just need permission to turn this back on, to remember.
Right. And trust yourself. Yeah. Because you're going to sit down. I still write somebody a note every day. I did it this morning, and I still sit down and think, oh my gosh, what are they going to think when they read this? And I've written 1,000 plus letters now. I don't know
Yeah.
what number I'm on because Dana and I
Yeah.
still write each other. So I have no idea what my number is. But the thing is, I still struggle with that. But that's the speed bump you have to, or the hurdle, or whatever you want to call it. You have to drag yourself over that. And you'll have to drag yourself over that more than one time in my experience.
So the consistency of this, and then continuing to craft, because I'm sure your letters now are way different than when you started.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then now I know, I just know the impact. And what happens is, Eric, is let's say that you write me a handwritten letter, and let's say we went to high school together,
Yeah.
and I go out to my mailbox and I haven't heard from you. It doesn't matter. Let's say we did life together for 15 years and I haven't seen you in a year. It doesn't really matter what the circumstance between us is.
Yeah.
And it could be and we're going to talk about this, like a leader employee thing. You can put anywhere where there's human relationships, but I go out to my mailbox and before I even read your words of meaning, I understand that this is what you have to do. And I know this is a factual statement because I watched people do this 600 times. I'm going to hold this in my hand. I'm going to be like, oh, wait. And because we're in the digital age, here's what Eric had to do to make this moment happen.
Mm-hmm.
He had to sit down, wear the envelopes. Wait, do I have paper or a note card or whatever? Then get a pen and use your actual handwriting. Put yourself out there because you're not going to be perfect. Sign your name. Then you have to find and put it in an envelope. You have to seal that. Then where's my address? You don't have that. Does your mom have it? Who has it? And then, oh wait, stamps. No one has those anymore. And then you have to drive across town. And where even is the blue mailbox? And
right.
Or do I have to go in the post office? And so I'm going to hold that in my hand. And no matter what context you sent this letter in, I am valued this much by another human being. Mm-hmm. I matter this much to one other person in the world. And I'm telling you what, in this digital age, I did not understand. You are unleashing a power of good that you cannot imagine. You will never know what it meant because I was shocked, just shocked at what it meant to people, these little notes.
That was well put, because we conceptualize this and we see, our brains are really good at putting systems together in terms of, like you said, you go to the mailbox and birthday card was the first thing that came to mind. So like when our daughter gets a birthday card in the mail, it's like, oh my gosh, so-and-so sent me a birthday card and she's understanding all of the steps that took place to get there, but we don't have to list them out. Right. And all of a sudden that is our feedback loop that creates this excitement chemical cocktail that's released in our body. And we're like, oh my gosh, totally different than opening an email that says, hey, happy birthday. That's appreciated.
Right.
But they went out of their way, to your point. It was a service. Like this person served me. And when we approach life through service, give and it shall be given back to you. Right. And so like, that's a really cool concept. And so on this journey, on this letter writing journey, can you share some stories of reconnection or maybe healing or simply like the impact that you've seen from feedback?
Yeah. There were so many, one of the biggest takeaways was the impact of these handwritten notes because they required sacrifice of time and, resources. So over and over again, but people showed what it meant to them, in the way they responded and received them. And I think the most common takeaway, the most common response I got from people was this: I will save your letter in a special place for the rest of my life. And, that was before there was a book or a speech or anything else. I mean, when I went on the book tour, people came to the book tour with their letters in pristine condition. And that meant they had saved it before anybody even knew what was going on. And they felt chosen and selected, even though I told every single person I was writing every single person, but they still felt like, oh, you chose me. Yeah. But there was a couple of there were so many beautiful interactions that when I wrote the book, I had to get an editor to help me see, like, we had to make it reader facing because it was all so meaningful. It was overwhelming. But I had, for instance, a girl in high school who I knew we didn't agree politically. We didn't have the same religious values. We were in that subset of people who are still unfriending each other, and I wrote her and kind of said, I know we don't agree with everything, but your posts are eloquent and they make me see a different side of things. And I feel like I learned something from you. And so regardless of how many likes you got, please know that I'm glad we went through this election together, because I feel like I learned that I'm better because you put things in a way that I understood. You didn't do it from a place of hate. And
Right.
she, wrote me a letter back and said, and this is someone on the other side of that spectrum, that like we've been told to stand on our sides
Mhm.
and not reach out to the other side, if only to be slapped back. But she
Yeah.
writes me back and said, when I hear from people like you, I'm filled with hope and optimism. And you think about what that means. Stay in touch. Thank you. And I know if I saw this girl again today, who I haven't seen in 30 years, that we would see each other. We wouldn't act like we didn't know each other. We would probably hug each other. And I don't believe in
Mhm.
crying. And we would probably tear up a little bit, and we would embrace. And those differences would 100% still be there. But because our connection is more important, because we started out life together, because this whole relationship fortified with these simple handwritten words, they just wouldn't matter as much. The
Yeah.
fact that we were connected would mean more. And that tells the whole story. And that happened over and over and over and over again.
Mm. The it's almost as if the dichotomies, right? The two disbeliefs are less powerful than the shared beliefs and the shared experiences, because like that, it's almost like you can say, all right, our difference in beliefs, our difference in values, whatever, is irrelevant because we are actually more alike than different. And that is it's the remembering of, wait a minute, no, this is who we are through I like how you said it. So in not being excluded, they were made to feel included.
Right. Right.
So
And she knew the differences too. And she's like,
yeah,
regardless, I'm important enough to this person
right.
to be reached out to, even though she knows I don't, we're not on the same page. But,
Yeah.
and then the handwritten letter just that takes it to a whole nother level. And I didn't know that. Like the act that I would sacrifice that, it would have been meaningful if I would have sent her a Facebook message and told her the same thing. But the handwritten thing is just next level, because it sets the whole thing apart. And
Yeah.
again, we all have this power. This has nothing to do with Amy Daughters being a great person or Amy Daughters
Right.
being a nut job,
Right.
and nothing to do with any of that. The story is about you, the people listening. That's
Yeah.
what the story is about.
Yeah. And many people have proven the power of pen to paper versus digital. Wayne Dyer, the last, I don't know, 5, 6 books that he wrote, he said, I'm choosing not to use technology. I'm going to handwrite this because it's going from here to here through my pen onto the paper. And so powerful that to bring in, since you said since you referred to yourself as maybe the crazy person, he would, when he would crumble up a paper, he would toss it, and no one was allowed to clean his office until the book was written, because the power and the energy of that paper was still there to resonate with him, to say, I don't need to go that route, I don't need to write that. So there's power in that. And then when you take that power and you give it to another person and say, I'm choosing you and I want to acknowledge you, it's like a whole new world that is so simple, but yet so complex, and we don't even think about now.
Right. And that's the thing. It's so simple. It's so it's almost something that's so easy to, discard, because it just seems too easy. But
Yeah.
but first of all, it is easy, but it requires you to be vulnerable and put yourself out there and
Right.
have the effort. So as easy as it is, it does require you to take a step that we don't normally take now, but it is so simple, but profoundly meaningful. And there's a lot of science, and you and I discussed this, about
Yes.
what's released in your own head as the writer to handwrite anything, handwrite in a journal, when you're connecting with another person, it releases something in us. And I think the bonus of this whole thing, the bonus plot twist of the whole letter writing, note writing formula, is that the person who's going to be the most changed from this transaction is the letter writer, the note writer, because you're going to look at your world differently. You're going to
Mhm.
feel better about yourself. If you're doing it at work, you're going to look at your employees, your coworkers, your team
Mhm.
members differently. If you're doing it in the context of your personal life, you're going to look at it different. If you're sending it to clients, you're going to look at clients differently. But you're going to release something inside yourself that is so good. You're going to
Yeah.
be like, maybe that's the best version of myself. And that's my experience.
Interesting. So it's very similar to journaling because it's
Mhm.
creating an introspection, a self discovery through the act of servanthood. I mean,
Right.
for lack of better terms, because you are putting it as small as the uncomfortableness is, or as small as the inconvenience is. It's still inconvenience and it's still uncomfortable until it's not, and then it's like runners who have to run every day, and when they don't, they feel ill. It's like, okay, I haven't written today. Like, i'm not I'm not aligned today. Like, I need to write, I need to get
Right.
this out. And then you're like, all right, now I'm set up for success. And oh yeah, someone else is going to get a dopamine and serotonin hit when they read this in a few days, right?
Right. And it never stops. I thought after I wrote the last letter in the Facebook project, I was like, I'm out. First of all, I'm going to get off Facebook. Second of all, I'm never going to write anyone another letter again.
Yeah.
But then I realized that it's not just honoring the story. It's the best version of me. It's one thing I could do. And
Yeah.
it still works. And that's the thing. I'm not even trying to sell anything. It's just the best thing. And me not sharing it would be an absolute, well, for me personally, it would be a crime because
Yeah.
it is so good. It is so, I
Yeah.
mean, it's packed with so much goodness on both sides of the transaction. It really literally cannot be messed up. You cannot mess this up. You cannot, if you go into it with sincerity, there's not one human relationship or connection that cannot be enhanced by this simple practice.
I totally agree with that. And yeah, it would be a disservice to the world if you were to hold that, to not play your music for the world ultimately. Um, and yeah, and as we spoke last time, it reminds me so much of early on in my leadership journey when I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I've recognized something in the organization that was organization wide. It was happening everywhere. And I was like, okay, I think I know how to fix it. And so I told my manager, and in less than a week later, I got this note, handwritten note from our CEO, who, as a frontline staff, who just elevated into, it's like the highest level nurse, lowest level management, like however you want to look at it, depends on the night, right? Um, I didn't really talk to the CEO that much. It would be in passing, and I received a handwritten note that completely shifted everything because it was confirmation that I was on the right track, and um, this is my journey. And to your point, so all these people who brought notes in to your like the pristine letters, not notes,
Mhm.
I apologize, letters to your book signing. Yeah. So this lives in my nightstand, and it is so profound that every time I get it out, and this was like 8 or 9 years ago, and but it's confirmation that we make a difference every single day. And everything that you mentioned, I felt when I read that. I felt important. I felt empowered. I felt chosen. I felt part of the team. I felt like my mission was worth it simply in this few minutes that Keith Goodwin took the time and wrote this and gave it to me. Um, so yeah. So I have personal, like this story personally impacts me. And to take this even further, I just realized this as a few minutes ago. Um, so I have the privilege of making my daughter and my wife's lunch every morning. I'm the coffee guy and I'm the lunch to set them up for success. Most mornings I will write them a note on the napkin or the paper towel that I put in there. Um, and half the time I don't hear anything about it. But there's certain times where like my wife will say, I absolutely love the note today. And other people at work are like, oh my God, let me read the note that your husband wrote today. And so it became this thing, but it doesn't need to be reciprocated because, to your point, I'm better for doing that.
Right.
And it becomes about how may I serve. And when I get out of that mindset and I don't write, she will say, I miss my notes. I'm like, okay, there is value in there. So I'm going to pause. That was a whole lot, but I wanted to let you know this resonates tremendously with me.
Well, I think but what you said is an excellent point. That's another thing, Eric, that I learned from the letter writing process is one, there was so much volume that I began to not really care if someone responded or not because I couldn't keep up with it. Like it was a numbers game. But also I realized, and this is a really profound realization, that I probably had I'm a numbers girl, so my response rate was like 74.9% on the letters. But I always wondered about the 25% who I didn't hear back from. And I began to realize that me making an impact with these letters when I wasn't even trying to make an impact, which is funny to me, is it had nothing to do with whether I got a response or not. I didn't need to have a response to know I had made a difference. And I love to think about those 25% of the people and their stories, because I came to believe that there was a certain type of personality type that was going to respond, and they weren't better than anyone else. That's just how they lived their life. But I think that the rate of impact was 100%. And I didn't need to be responded to know that I had made a difference. And it kind of set me up with a different mindset for the rest of my life. Like, I can send you a nice text, and if you don't text me back, then that's fine. And my brother-in-law and I started writing, and one of Dana's daughters really spoke to me about this was, no need to respond. No need to respond. I'm going to say all this to you, but no need to respond, because it takes the person off the hook, and it makes it about what you're saying as opposed to you wanting something back from them.
Right. So there's no need in validation, and there's no need to answer or put your own spin on what's being received. They are simply and profoundly providing you with their thoughts, their feelings,
right,
their life.
And that's what a letter does, a letter or a note.
Yeah.
One of the other beautiful elements, it doesn't ask for anything back. It doesn't, when you got that thank you note, it was about him, valuing you to the point that it's in your nightstand 9 years later, which is like a mic drop moment for me. 100%. You just told my story better than I told my story with that story. But the thing is, it doesn't ask people to do anything back.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm talking about no need to respond. You're almost saying that without saying it, just by writing a handwritten note.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's so in the culture of Ubuntu, if someone messes up in their community, which is about 120 to 150 people, they gather them around, like they put them in the center, and they gather around, and they spend as much time as they need to showcase and tell them the value that they bring to the community.
Wow.
So that is like, we don't want anything back from you right now. We want you to listen, and we want you to hear the value that you offer the world. That's what this did. This was an Ubuntu. This was my introduction to Ubuntu before I even knew what it was. It was, I don't care if like no one's perfect. You recognize something, you have value to bring to the table, and we are better for you. So thank you. And ultimately, like, don't do anything except continue doing what you're doing. And that is, to your point, you don't need anything back, but it's almost like, a little tap to say, yeah, keep going. You're on the right track. Just keep going, and you're not alone. You're never going to be alone. And I think that is the most beautiful aspect of the whole thing is we're never alone. We're all connected, and we all have the ability to enhance that connection through handwriting, letters.
Right. And you were given something physically you could hang on to it for the rest of your life. And that's the other element about it. It's something that was meant just for you, that somebody else held in their hand, that is passing on to you. But what you're giving someone, I spoke to a women's leadership group one time, and I mean recently, and this woman contacted me back like 6 months later. She had like 1,500 people working for her. And she started the note practice. She started doing once a week, kind of a shout out or, I heard you lost
Yeah.
somebody, or just like 2 sentences, very sincere. And she said about 6 months later, then she went to 2 notes a week because she liked it so much. She said she went through like Cubicle Row, and she said these things were hung up like they were framed diplomas, like it was like a certification, like $100 bill. Like, look what I got,
Yeah.
and she said she was just blown away that someone would display it in a way that was like, this is so meaningful to you. And what they're creating, Eric, she's creating nightstand moments, mementos. They're going to leave that
Yes.
job.
Yep.
They're going to go on to the next level of their career or their life, and they're going to take the note. They're going to leave the pens and the paper clips and the whatever else, but they're going to take that note with them. You're giving someone a gift, no matter what context you're doing this in, for the rest of their lives.
Yep. Yeah. They're going to leave the pizza parties. They're going to leave the small tokens of appreciation, and they're going to take with them what actually was valuable. And I mean, think about business cultures shifting to, I want to recognize you for your amazingness that you are. Because as the quote behind me from Einstein says, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's an idiot. So we all have value. We all have genius. Recognizing that through a handwritten note of, hey, thanks for this. And then seeing it posted on their cubicle, it automatically shows you the value and what employees are looking for. So this concept, another beautiful aspect of it is it can be scaled into so many different areas, and ultimately wherever humans interact with other humans, it can be utilized there.
It's 100% well said, because that's what it can be used in any way. And I think that you have to trust your gut. Like wherever you see this working for you, that's what you have to go with. It's not about my story. The universe or God or whatever you call it gave me this incredible story that I can jump off this conversation. Like I can kickstart this conversation, and it gets me indoors. But this can be used by anyone, anywhere, 100%.
I love it. I love it. So I think I know the answer to this. But if someone was wanting to start right now, improving their relationships, improving their understanding of themselves, making human connections, what is step one? What is one small thing they can begin?
Well, get the smallest note card you can, and every time I speak about this, a lot of people have somebody who they immediately think that they want to send something to, whether it's a work thing, a personal thing. Trust yourself and sit down just long enough to write 2 or 3 sincere sentences. What do you write about? What's going to come to your mind? Something you need to apologize, something you need to thank them for, something you need to congratulate them on, a struggle they might need support with, or just, hey, hi, I haven't talked to you in a while. I just want to let you know I love you. It could be that simple. Or I saw you in the meeting and you did a great job. Or I heard you lost your mom and it was 2 years ago and I never said anything. It's never, ever too late to say anything. But sit down and do that one small act. Deliver it to them by hand, put it in our office mail, put it in the mailbox, which is even better, and then see what happens next. Not just to the person on the other end of the transaction, but see what happens next within you.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay. Where can people find you?
Yeah. Everything about me, amydaughters.com. That's the place to go. I mean, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but the links are there. Okay. My email address is there. I love to hear from people, and my mailing address is on my website. And I guarantee you, if anyone writes me, I will 100% write them back. And you can start with me, and I will write you back. So yeah, go there. And that's where all things Amy Daughters.
That's awesome. And we'll have all of the links below. This was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add to this? Maybe something we haven't covered?
No, I just want to say thank you for letting me share my story, because I'm 100% about, I want to sell books. Yeah, I'm a small business person, but I want to tell the story. And what an honor and a privilege, and someone who I feel like I'm on the same page with your audience. So thank you very much, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It was truly an honor. And I love the passion. I love Yeah, I love the whole concept. I love anything that enhances human connection, because in a world where we feel as though we're being um, separated and pulled and, having to choose sides, like at the core, we are all humans and we all have value that we can offer one another if we will allow that and give ourselves permission to to serve and to be there for other people. So I love it. Um, the one last thing, I love the fact of something that changed my life was the affirmation of I am enough. So throughout my life, unrealistic expectations created this negative feedback loop, right? To never living up to unrealistic expectations. And I say unrealistic expectations because they were not my expectations. They were from various expectations. I am enough is huge. And every time I hear your stories, I envision the person grabbing this letter, this note, opening it up and feeling worthiness from another human being and saying, I am enough. And that is the epitome of why I love this at the core. So, with that, I greatly appreciate you, your work, and for sharing your story.
That might be the most humbling thing anyone's ever said to me.
Mm.
Because I think I, like all human beings, identify with, am I enough? So if I gave one person, if they felt like they were enough, I mean, that is the most powerful thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, that's profoundly, like, I don't even know what to say. That's incredible. So thank you for saying that. You might have just compelled me to go one more. It's hard to do these things and
Yeah.
stay motivated to try to do what you think you need to do. But
Yes.
that was incredibly. Thank you for saying that. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I 100% believe that. And that's the feeling that I have when I hear the stories, when I empathize when I empathize with the people within your stories, it clicks. This is why it's so profound. This is the human connection, is the value is allowing me to be enough for who I am and with no expectations, right?
right.
That's the beauty. So
And that's the thing. There's so many layers of this that's good and can be unpacked.
yeah,
It's unbelievable.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, if you enjoyed this, please share it. Please comment. Please reach out to Amy. Send her a letter, and if you do send her a letter, when she responds, let us know about it. Would love to post about this. So, and if you're interested, if you are at a place where you feel stuck, where you feel like you don't know the next steps, or there is a higher purpose to your life that you're not living up to, I'm doing a 6 weeks journey of transformation. Reach out to me. Would love to chat more about that to help empower you to become the best version of you. And who knows, maybe this starts with writing letters to people and empowering yourself to get your voice out there. Whatever the case is, Amy and I would love to help in whatever capacity, whatever way we could. So one more time, Amy, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Coach Eric.
And guys, I'm looking forward to the next one. And this journey that we are on, I'm so privileged, I'm so honored, and I'm so grateful that this Ubuntu community is beginning to take shape, and we are driving human connection in the way that it should go, through community. So looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. And until then, be well, be loved. Thank you for joining me on Pep Talks with Eric, where together we shift our focus, embrace connection, and drive towards a more fulfilling life. Remember, it's not just about where you're headed, but how you choose to travel along the way. As you continue your journey, know that you have the power to change lanes and focus on the path that leads to positivity, purpose, and connection. Let's stay connected and continue empowering your journey, one commute at a time. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. And until then, be well, be loved.